highlighted.
Mm-hmm.
So I think uh, Indian state became very antagonistic to anything Hindu because it was
Mm-hmm.
associated with all sorts of negativity
Mm-hmm.
in India. The way we have been taught our social sciences. So
Mm-hmm.
everything negative is Hindu. That's why I think it comes from that mindset only when in 1991, when the economic collapse of India happened and they
Mm-hmm.
had to go to liberalization, they said this is Hindu rate of growth. So everything wrong in the society has to be blamed on Hindu.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is what led to this mindset. I'm not sure about Indonesia. I've not read much or I have not accumulated a lot of information on Indonesia. But I see this. They are much more comfortable with Hindu cultural symbolism than India is. At least their government, their state
Mm-hmm.
apparatus is much more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Society may be different. It
Mm.
seems so.
Okay, understood, understood. Yeah, Rishi, you have something to say?
Yeah, so on this issue of Islamization, I think there is a very significant difference over there. So the elites of Indonesia, especially, were very much different from the ones that were in India. So we
Mm-hmm.
see that even the uh, in historical events too, the kings used to uh, do things which are very unusual, like making statues of Allah and making them being worshipped in temples, especially in
Mm-hmm.
Malaysia and Indonesia. It was a very common thing that they used to do. So,
Mm-hmm.
like forcefully twisting Islam as something Hindu. They used to do this
Mm-hmm.
a lot, and
Mm-hmm.
there was also very much less imposition of clerics, especially the elites or the ruling class used to be more uh, uh, controlling over there,
Mm-hmm.
unlike in here where clerics became the elites within the
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote minority society here in India. And with this
Mm-hmm.
we see a lot of change, in fact. So Vijit Da came that day,
Mm-hmm.
last in one of the streams of yours. So he mentioned of
Mm-hmm.
a book, right? Titus's Indian Muslims.
Ah, yes, 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 yes.
Yes,
Mm.
yes. So that book actually proves this point that until the time that clerics took the position of elites in within quote unquote Muslim society, the
Mm.
Muslims were not Muslims in true sense.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So they
Mm-hmm.
used to do things in India which are totally Hindu, even to the
Mm-hmm.
extent that in Sindh, some of the surveyors were aghast at getting notice that some of the data points were like the people were calling themselves as Mohammadi Hindu.
Mm.
So,
Okay, interesting.
so such issues were coming up in data also. So this was very unusual for the colonial establishment, especially, and even for
Mm-hmm.
the clerics, especially, and that we get to learn also in the event of the creation of Tablighi Jamaat, especially
Mm-hmm.
in the Mewat area of Haryana, present day Haryana, and outskirts of Rajasthan and so on. So
Mm-hmm.
there the Muslims used to keep shikha. They had gotras. They used to mock people who used to be practicing Islam. In fact, while
Mm-hmm.
doing namaz, they used to mock them. So these records are there, and the clerics were getting alarmed at this. And especially with
Mm-hmm.
Swami Shraddhanand coming there,
Mm-hmm.
he converted them into Hinduism during his Shuddhi movement upsurge. So this was a problem which the clerics felt here in India as well. But in India, they got the center stage as the elite, and that changed the game. And I think that was also happening at the time in 90s. I think Dada, you might check that. You can fact check me, but in 90s, Indonesia had a lot of Islamist
Yes,
terrorism
the yeah,
events against Hindus.
the Bali bombings were there. The primary one. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. You can maybe fact checking me more on this, but the infestation of clerics started getting more and more entrenched in that society too. It became a very later movement, in fact. So there is this movement as well right now going in Indonesia, which is trying to make them more Islamic. So you read in that text, right, that there are two sets of Muslims, Abangan and Santri. So the Santri ones in urban centers are much more Islamic. Quran, Sharia, those things are there. And the Abangan are Hindu, the Aborigines, they are much more Hindu. So this dichotomy we are seeing over here as well. And in India, as you may know him, Ruchir Sharma, one of the good policy experts, he says rightly so that Indian state after 1947 is a Protestant reformist state. It is hell-bent on reforming Hinduism into a Protestant garb, actually. So this whole antipathy towards Hinduism, towards Hindu labels, is very much a Protestant thing to do. And as far as Dutches are concerned, I think the Dutch were much more secular, I guess. I don't know. I have seen their religious composition. They are Calvinist, Christian Calvinist. They are. And supposedly Calvinists are seen like less missionary, with less missionary zeal, unlike the Anglican Protestants, Baptists, which came in India with colonization under British East India Company. So maybe there are some, maybe I'm making some mistakes over here, but these were some of the data points which came into my mind. Maybe you can comment on it, both of you.
So I think we need to read more about how the Dutch colonies were functioning, because we generally have an idea about the British colonies in general. And
True.
so but I think not a lot of is written because it's in Dutch language, and people like it's not something which is a very popular language. But yes, it is quite interesting. Like it can be like maybe some books can be written that correct, both places were actually colonized in general. You can say one thing which is a different is that correct, the kind of violence that we have seen in Indian subcontinent, okay, from Afghanistan to the southern portions of Kerala via the Islamic invaders over 1,000 years. Right? So
Yes.
that kind of violence was correct not there in that region in general. There would be a lot of warfare, but kind of religious persecution, religious violence which was observed in the Indian subcontinent for 1,000 years by the Islamic invaders, I think that could be a point where we would see that the nature and state character was changed invariably over centuries.
Nada, while you were reading the text, how many religions have been considered as like palatable in six, right?
So you have Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Confucianism, Hinduism, and one more is there. So only six are there. Catholics are there.
I have something interesting to say on this, but let Abhay speak before me.
Yeah, Abhay.
So I want to know something, that in Indonesia, who invaded that Indonesia got Islamized? Was it the Arabs or the Turks?
Actually, there was no invasion. It was primarily happened through trade links. So that there would be correct in the book he mentions the Arab traders from Arab traders and Muslims from Gujarat and Kerala who went there to do their merchant activities, and from that the conversion started.
I think the difference between the Indian Islamic elite and the Indonesian Islamic elite is exactly that, because Indonesia was converted to Islam relatively peacefully through trade and
Mm-hmm.
all, while in
Mm-hmm.
India, the Turks came who are barbaric and they started destroying temples. While these
Mm-hmm.
traders in Indonesia did not destroy temples, they started appropriating the culture into Islam or sort of creating a uh, what do you say, a mishmash of Islamic and their regional culture. Maybe that is why they are much more comfortable with Hindu symbolism than Indian Muslims are. They want to, at least the elite. Later, I think there may have been a radicalization of the Islamic elite in Indonesia also. But all this while, I think their state is not that uncomfortable with owning up their Hindu culture. Do
Mm.
you think so?
Yeah, it could be, but we can make only educated guess as of now because we have not read enough to actually give an opinion. But yeah, it could be.
I think
Uh,
When
mm,
I I think uh, we should try to read more on these things. If any sociology books are written on Indonesia and all, uh, I think you have been talking about social capital, and I've been
mm, mm.
hearing some people, some voices that they are talking about how Hindutvaadis need to get into sociology now and other social
uh,
sciences. Maybe
sociology and social capital are two different things. So don't
no,
mix
no.
them.
I'm
Mm,
saying that social capital is a part of sociology as a subject. It's one topic in social sciences, I think. So I know that social capital is different from sociology. Sociology is a bigger subject. But
mm.
I'm saying we are slowly getting into certain terms and concepts which are related to social. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, yeah, Rishi.
yeah, uh, so what I wanted to speak on was that whole episode that happened after they got independence from the Dutch colonization in
Mm,
1945,
mm,
I guess, Indonesia.
mm. No, I
So
think 45
what
was, I
happened?
think today 47 they got, I think 46 or something.
Oh,
Let
okay,
me
okay,
check. Only,
47. Okay.
okay,
Yes,
go
yes,
ahead, go
please.
ahead, go ahead. Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, so after that, what I was reading, so last night actually I read this.
Mm.
Somehow it came over here as well. So in 1945, yeah, in 1945 it's saying.
40,
So
40,
okay,
yeah, 45, 45
1945.
it happened. Mm.
Yeah, so Sukarno, the I think he was the first prime minister or something, right? Or dictator or
Mm.
some. I don't know. Comments can
Sukarno,
maybe speak on
Sukarno,
it. Sukarno.
Sukarno was at, we need to double check. Sukarno, like there was a 30-year military junta rule in
Mm. Mm.
Indonesia.
Yeah, so this guy actually implemented something called Panchashil, five
Yes.
principles, and in those Panchashil, there was something which really irked the Hindus, and that was that the only religion which will be considered even as a religion would be those which considers there is only one God. There are no multiple gods. So, in that, Hinduism was actually dislodged as a legitimate religion itself.
Mm.
So Hindus had to come up with something very unique over there, and we get to see that in Bali and even in Indonesia. They worship something called Avyakta, I think. Maybe if, you can fact check me on this. So, uh,
Okay, so I got the data. So Sukarno
hmm,
was a democratically elected leader. You had Suharto.
hmm.
Suharto was a military
Okay,
dictator
okay,
who ruled from 1966 to 1998.
okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, I was confused on
Mm-hmm.
both guys. So yeah, so this principle actually created a huge issue, and Hindus, as usual, came up with something very unique for that context. They brought in a god,
Mm-hmm.
Avyakta, and they merged it with the concept of Brahman in Veda, that the one Brahman, there is only one Brahman, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So they issued that and got the recognition of as a legitimate religion itself. And under that, they incorporated Shiva, Parvati, everything. So they continued to worship as Hindus, but they kept that whole Avyakta as the only God that there is, and so on. Something much more better, which the
Mm-hmm.
Hindus did over there, which I think we should immediately do in India right now. Uh, this was something very, very amazing. And credit to Ami Ganatraji, she
Mm-hmm.
spoke on this issue a lot, in a lot better way in one of the recent lectures of us. So
Lecture.
she found that out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and where on YouTube? So like
Yeah, on YouTube. It's on
in
YouTube. Yeah.
okay, okay.
Yeah. So she says that in Indonesia, if one goes, one gets to see something unusual, that at midday and at 12 at noon, uh,
Mm-hmm.
there are loudspeakers in temples mm, uh, which play certain mantras.
Mm-hmm.
And Hindus, especially Hindus, uh, like whether they are in home or in streets, they go straight to temples or at home in
Mm-hmm.
their own puja ghar
Mm-hmm.
and do something called sandhya.
Mm-hmm.
So this sandhya thing they brought in as like a competition to the namaz thing. So the Muslims do the
Mm-hmm.
namaz calls, right? The prayer calls.
Mm-hmm.
Hindus do over there sandhya prayer calls. So they play those mantras, and students, from
Mm-hmm.
students to elders, all
Mm-hmm.
chant that
Mm-hmm.
mantra together in a temple or in any institution where they are in. So they
Mm-hmm.
do that. After doing that, it's I guess for 15 minutes and so on.
Mm-hmm.
After doing that Trisandhya, they get back to work again. So this
Mm-hmm.
thing has really helped a lot in like the collectivist thing within the Hindus. So we lack that here, right, in India. People don't get together a lot, especially on religious causes. Over there, they have done this successfully. They have done this, and Trisandhya, Trisandhya is a religious duty for all Hindus actually, which is so much forgotten in here in India itself. Like the Trisandhya thing is avoided. Like, oh no, it's yuck. Like only the Purohits or like really traditionalist guys do those things, and especially the ones who are actually like ordered to do, the so-called Brahmins, they do it the least in India. So over there, everybody does, irrespective of their identities. You know, the status identity, caste identities, and so everybody does this. And this is, I think, a great unifier to me. It's an amazing thing that they have done over there in Indonesia. I think India should, in India, we Hindus should start doing that as well. Your
Yeah,
opinion on this?
I think you spoke about a very interesting thing actually. This is like this learning that every day we do, and it is important. It is important that we learn from each other and see innovation and improvement is something which is a constant process. Okay, and that needs to be adopted. But in India, as Abhay mentioned, correct, the state in general over if you say over more than 5 centuries has been uh, created in a way where it has been designed to actually trample on the Hindu rights in general. Okay. And through various means we have seen, correct, when the whole world conspires against you, okay, in general. So you don't have a lot of room to play around. Yes, if people are watching this, okay, it takes time to actually get into a routine and follow ritual. It's not an easy thing to do. if you're not doing this from the young age. But one thing which all people can do in whatever capacity they have is to have a tulsi plant in your uh, place. Okay, it could be a flat, it could be a small place. Even you can keep it in your desk as well. Okay, because having a tulsi plant is a kind of a good beginning to actually get into the uh, habit of actually reconnecting with your dharmic values as a stepping stone, in my opinion. So very low barrier to actually entry in terms of having a tulsi plant and taking care of it, and slowly the positive energy which the tulsi plant have, that will actually manifest, and slowly you will gravitate towards your dharmic values once again.
True. It's a preliminary step, and it's very easy, especially for
Hmm.
those which, like everybody does. Even the poorest of Hindus do that. So why not the
Right.
richest ones? Why are they exempt
Exactly.
from it? So they should
Yes.
they should start doing that. Yes. By the way, that Trisandhya thing, the chanting is done by all. Okay, so then if someone is free, they can do the ritual thing, which is very hard to do, right? So the chanting thing, they have made it very compulsory for all Hindus. The Hindus have done this over there.
Yeah, it is important. See, like we talk about when we are talking about freedom, correct? So in general, people think that okay, if I have to do something, if somebody is telling me do these specific things, it becomes a kind of a, like a caging thing, that you are not giving me freedom to do whatever I want to do. But as Jordan Peterson has mentioned in many ways, that the freedom to do everything, okay, is the worst thing that could happen to you, because we as humans have evolved to have rituals and rules, and they are there for a reason. The one of the like bad misconception is that having rules based society, rules to actually control our own instincts, is something which is going, is it helping us rather than curbing our freedom. It gives you more freedom in long run. So,
Right,
and that
right,
is
right.
something which is the liberal value of doing whatever you want to do. Okay, looks very enticing. Okay, looks very appealing to every individual. Okay, but we don't realize that our biology is something that will lead us to ruin if we are given freedom what we want to do in general. So it is a kind of a, like a dichotomy, or a mystery.
If Dada, I have something to say here.
Mm.
Our society is very flipped. If you see, it's a very vicious flip that I see in our society. Our society or people in a society want freedom from the society, from their families, that the society should not moral police them. माता पिता कुछ नहीं बोले, माता पिता से फ्रीडम चाहिए, माता पिता ने एकदम लाइफ को झंड बना रखा है, कोई फ्रीडम नहीं देते. But the same people don't want freedom from the state. They still want the state to control us. They still want state to decide the temperatures of our AC. This is our society. Imagine where this society will go. The thing should be उल्टा, कि भाई सोसाइटी में थोड़ा सा कंट्रोल रहे, माता पिता बोले, then the elders of the society tell us that this is not right, this is wrong, while the state gives us the freedom to do whatever they want. The state should stay out of our life. But it's totally flipped in our case. This is why our society is breaking apart, and the state is gaining more and more control over our lives. And this is why that Sandhya thing, which Rishi talked about, we can't even do that, because because state will not allow us to do that. The moment we do that, the police will come in and say, "You stop it." Or some intellectuals will start saying that this is Hindu assertion, this is violent Hindu assertion. Nowadays, we are doing little things like celebrating Diwali or bursting crackers or going to Kumbh, and you see how vicious the entire ecosystem is saying that there is some pollution in the water and they are going to ports. Imagine how will you do the Sandhya thing, three Sandhya thing, how difficult it is at the moment to manage. And this, and you were talking about Indian state being very Protestant in nature. Yes, and I see that stint of Protestantism, even in the Hindutva side, that we are proud that we reformed ourselves. Oh, we were a bad society, look, but we as Hindus reform. We take pride in that all the time, that we are reforming everything. We have become over reformist. That no, we have to change everything and westernize everything to, to modernize or to accept. So I think this is a big issue that uh, we have to
Yeah,
fight at a
yeah,
community
Abhay.
level.
Yeah, so correct. In one of the community posts that I had posted, correct. So I have posted this thing, social capital. Correct. What you have just mentioned, that it is very difficult to do three sandhya, correct? And it is. I am not saying that it is very easy to do. Okay. What we lack, what the society lacks, is the mechanism to actually identify the causes, and there are not one but many causes, which is actually the root where you see the problem. The problem of Hindu society nowadays is that we have so many problems that we have identified, that we are unable to actually go back, find out the root causes, because one cause will create multiple problems. So we are trying to solve the problems rather than able to actually address the causes which is causing the problem. And it is not an easy thing to do, okay, because it has happened over a millennia, okay, from 1000 BC it happened, okay. So from 1000 years we have suffered through, slowly the social capital got eroded over a 1000 year period, okay. So you cannot expect that the social capital would be again regained in about 100 years. It may be possible, may not be possible, but it is going to take time. And
Yeah,
the
I
lack,
understand. Yeah, you were saying something. I thought.
yeah. So in my opinion, okay, it's my opinion, okay, that what we need to do right now, okay, is to be in general, okay, in general, try to be, see, social capital is formed by an empowered individual. Understand this, this is very important to understand. If you are not an empowered individual, you cannot be the gears or the nut bolts which will create a society where the community has a social capital which can be derived and invested, and create and preserve its own faith and systems and traditions. What you and me and everybody else has to do is to first get empowered by themselves, okay, and make small contributions towards the society, okay. It can be as small as having a tulsi plant in your desk, okay, or just having a tulsi plant, taking care of it and watering it every day, okay. That you are empowering yourself, you are getting, you are being, how to say, you are incorporating your dharmic traditions into your daily life just by watering it for 1 minute in every day, okay. That is a start that we have to make, okay. After that the small things will happen, okay. So that is important, and it varies from degree to degree, okay. Somebody who has retired at 50, he might do something else. Somebody who is working, who can't do anything, have this low hanging fruits which needs to be done in the initial stages, because then once you get accustomed, once you get at ease with your identity, okay, as Hindus, only then the next step will start.
Um, yeah, I agree. I mean, we should start with small. I am not disagreeing with you. But I've seen that Hindus individually have a lot of social capital. Like if you see Hindus in the West, at an individual level, they are quite influential in the sense that they have access to leaders, they will have photographs with leaders, they have financial access to things, they are leaders of various companies, they are CEOs. But as a Hindu community, we don't have any social capital. Let's say those same individuals, if they say we want to do something for the Hindu community, they will be completely sidelined.
Hmm. Correct.
As a group, we don't have that social capital. As individuals, we have a lot of social capital.
No, no, no. Again, the word is again it's wrong. See, when you are talking about social capital, it is social in nature. If you are
No,
an
no, no,
individual with $1 million, you have your individual capital. That
no, no.
doesn't
That is a
contribute.
part of social capital. I was just checking out
Hmm.
a uh,
Hmm.
stream on it.
Hmm.
At an individual level, social capital is defined as what kind of quality social networks you have, quality social relationships you have, so
Hmm.
that you can use it to excel in life, to get access to better job opportunities or to better opportunities to gather resources. That is
Hmm.
also defined as social capital only at an
Hmm.
individual level. So, at an
Hmm.
individual level, I see Indians have a lot of access. It's not like Indians don't have access at
So,
an individual level. At
are,
least in the West, they are doing well as individuals. But
hmm.
as Hindus, they are not able to assert their social capital and get something done for the larger Hindu community or for larger Hindu cultural identity. That is what I see.
Yeah, actually, we are going to have a stream tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Okay, we will be having a stream at 7:30 p.m. tomorrow, most probably with academic men. So there we will be discussing more about the phenomena of social capital, okay, and how academically it's defined and how practically it is created.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good initiative to have that thing. I would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
waiting for that.
Tomorrow we'll be having that episode. We are planning this. Hopefully, it should have happen tomorrow. Okay, I think it's time. So we'll take this last question and then we will close this. Change for the sake of change is bad, not changing for the sake of preserving the tradition. So what do you think?
My point is we are over reformist. That is, there are some traditions which are worth preserving. There are good traditions also. But because we have become very reformist, because we want to change for the sake of change and we want to do away with good traditions also. For example, we have great dance forms. I'm just giving a small example. We have great dance forms, we have great music, classical music culture. Now, we should be preserving that, but for the sake of changing and so called modernizing, we will do away with that.
Hmm. Hmm.
That is a problem. There are good things that we should preserve from our
Hmm. Hmm.
knowledge systems, from our fine arts, from
Hmm.
our philosophies. You don't change just for the sake of changing. Then do away with your culture, do away with your religion. Today, Islam and Christianity is in majority. Become a Muslim. Why do you
Hmm.
want to preserve Hindu tradition if
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
want to
Hmm.
take for
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
change
Hmm.
for the sake of
Hmm.
changing?
Hmm. Hmm.
So that is a problem with the Hindu side that I see being over reformist.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Bhushalidhi is making a good point here. Let's. Hmm. That's an interesting point made by Bhushalidhi. Yeah, I think Bhushalidhi is right, and because she herself is a very good dancer, yeah, an artist.
Okay, so good for Vaishali. But yeah, I mean, the problem is our culture and dance forms, and it's moving out of the mainstream. If you see,
mm, mm,
mainstream is
mm,
mostly Western, and
mm, mm,
movies are mainstream today, whether we like it or not. And most of the Bollywood movies that you see is all about westernizing. I don't see any classical music in Bollywood or classical dancing in Bollywood. In southern film industries, still see some of it. They use
mm,
Carnatic music
mm,
in
mm,
their modern movies. So, so I feel that if we work hard towards it, we can get
mm,
back to it. If our people start invading Bollywood, let's say, giving
mm,
chance to people like Kailash Kher, for
mm,
example,
mm,
I think we
mm.
can bring back our chant. There is nothing wrong with
Yeah, I think thank you, Abhay, for your contribution. I think you made some very good points. Okay. Uh, let's join tomorrow. Tomorrow we have 2 or 3 sessions. We have very interesting sessions. So tomorrow we'll be having audience introduction session with Professor Ajay Chaturvedi, who has written these 2 books on time, and we're going to have an interesting discussion on how time is important in terms of philosophy, and how in modern life, in our lives, time plays a very important role in various forms. So do join us for tomorrow. We'll have that podcast ready.
Thank you so much, Dada, for allowing us to join. And I hope I didn't bore people here because I saw some people were bored by my social science lecture. They were saying like, "Don't give us social science lectures." But I thought those were important points. Still, uh, if you feel bored, uh, feel feel free to give us your feedback.
We'll see that. Thank you, Evan. Thank you, audience, for joining. Thanks for your comments. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is again we have 2 important podcasts coming on in the evening and in the afternoon. Jai Shri Ram. Namaste.
Jai Shri Ram.